Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In September of 2019, then presidential candidate Biden promised that should he be elected as President of the United States, there would be immediate surges at the border. He said, quote, "If you want to flee oppression, you should come." Given President Biden's open invitation while he was a presidential candidate, it's not at all surprising, in my view, that we have record-breaking surges at our southern border that are causing a full-blown crisis at the border. Since February, over 632,000 people, that we know of, embarked on an incredibly dangerous journey and have entered the country illegally with hope of eventual amnesty. I went to the border in March with nearly 24 of my colleagues, and I saw this crisis firsthand. And I saw it as one who had spent 2 years of my life living along the U.S.-Mexico border, and saw that the risks had gone up substantially since I had last visited. And what exactly are we here to do today? Well, the majority has scheduled a hearing not to address the crisis at the border, at least not in a way that would make it better or alleviate it, but rather to discuss amnesty. The amnesty proposal in this bill would ensure that this unprecedented crisis at our southern border continues indefinitely, in perpetuity, perhaps. What we should be discussing today is what can be done and what should be done to stop the border crisis that we now face, and to stop the abuse of women and children who embark along this perilous journey, and to stop the smugglers and the cartels from earning record-high profits from exploiting this crisis. Mr. Edlow, what's the difference, if you can explain it to us, between the I-95, the I-85 notice to report, which we're told that CBP currently is issuing to those crossing the border illegally? What's the difference between the I-85 notice to appear on the one hand and the mandatory notice to appear?
Thank you, Senator. So I believe it's the I-385 is the notice to report, and frankly, Senator, it's a new one on me in terms of seeing this being given with any regularity along the border. Essentially, what that document is telling, it's a document that says that the person has been encountered, and that when they get to where they're going, they, per that document, are supposed to report themselves, turn themselves in to ICE in whatever city, community that they're in. This is not the same thing as a notice to appear. A notice to appear is a statutory document that has all the elements are laid out in the Immigration Nationality Act that commences an immigration court proceeding. So it says how the person entered, it alleges certain facts about the situation, and then gives a charge of either inadmissibility or removability for the court to ultimately make a determination. It's essentially the civil immigration version of almost a little different, but kind of like an indictment. It gets the immigration court process moving. But the expanded use, we're seeing, I've heard numbers upwards of 30,000 plus notices to report that have been handed out along the border. This is not even catch and release. I mean, this is catch and release beyond anything we've seen. This is almost catch and welcome, so that people can then find where they're going. Senator Lankford spoke on the Senate floor, I believe it was back in March, and said that out of 24,000 people that he knew of that had received this notice to report, only about 1,800 had ever actually turned themselves into ICE when they got to where they were going.
So how will this bill that's likely to extend to include at least 3 million people, quite arguably more, how will that impact the crisis at our southern border? Will it end it? Will it slow it?
I think it exacerbates it. I think it adds to the crisis as more people will see that the comments, the promises that have been made by the current administration, by the Biden administration, are coming to fulfillment.
Does it contain any provisions any enforcement provisions that might deter future illegal immigration, or even that might deter people from voting illegally while
No,
they're
in
here
fact,
illegally?
thank you for mentioning voting. Voting illegally is one of the factors that is easily waived in this bill. There's a specific waiver here for any alien that has come into this country and voted illegally.
Why would we want to do that?
I don't have any idea. We wouldn't want to do that, nor do we want to waive criminal activity that we're seeing in this bill.
Okay. Thank you very much.